Okay guys, today we're going to be covering converting fractions from improper to mixed and from mixed to improper. So remember that a mixed number is when we mix a whole number and a fraction, and that an improper fraction is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So we talked about in class how the improper fractions and the mixed numbers are pretty much the same kinds of fractions. So we're able to convert back and forth between the two. So let's talk about how we do that. Well, with the mixed number, we use what's called the windmill method. We go around it like this. And remember in class we say that multiplication is repeated addition. So it's easy to remember what you have to do. You have to multiply and then add. So we'll take 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1, the numerator, is 9. And that is your new numerator. And remember when we were talking about adding and subtracting fractions, we said the denominator never changes. The same is true with converting improper to mixed and mixed to improper. The denominator never changes. So I end up with the same denominator, which is 4. So 2 and 1/4 converts to 9/4. Let's see one like 3 and 4/5. Remember we use the windmill method, so we put the little arrows around like a windmill, and multiplication is repeated addition. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19, and that's my new numerator. And my denominator never changes, so my denominator is still 5. So when I convert 3 and 4/5, it converts to 19/5. Now, that's the easy part, mixed to improper. It's a little bit more difficult to convert from improper to a mixed number, but we're going to do it right now. So let's take the improper fraction like 9/4 that we have here, and let's convert it back to a mixed number. You have two options of ways that you can do this. One is the easier way, which is division. So 9 out of 4 would be like 9 divided by 4. And 4 goes into 9 2 times, which is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. So my whole number is 2, right here, this 2. And then my remainder is my numerator, and my denominator is the same. It never changes. So 2 and 1/4 matches what I just did over here at the beginning, just by doing division. So let me walk you through that one more time so you can see what I just did. 9 out of 4 is division, so I take 9 divided by 4. 4 goes into 9 twice, minus 8 is 1. That's my remainder, so my remainder is my new numerator, and my denominator never changes. So 2 and 1/4 is my fraction. Now if you're not comfortable with that division, there is another way that you can convert it. And we talked about in class how when a fraction equals a whole, the numerator and the denominator are the same. And so we can take out a whole because a mixed number does have holes in it. So I can take out a whole fraction out of this fraction. Well, when I add and subtract fractions, the denominator has to stay the same. So if my denominator is 4, my numerator also has to be 4 if that's going to represent a whole. So 9 minus 4 is 5. And my denominator never changes. Now, that fraction is still improper, so I need to take out another whole. And I'm left with 1/4. Then I count up how many wholes I took out. I took out 1 whole, 2 whole. So I took out 2 whole fractions, and I was left with 1/4. So my converted fraction is 2 and 1/4. So let's take a fraction like 17/5. And we want to convert that to a mixed number. So your first option is to divide. 17 divided by 5. 5 goes into 17 3 times, which is 15, with a remainder of 2. That remainder becomes your numerator, and your denominator stays the same. So my denominator is still 5. So 3 and 2/5 is my converted fraction. Now if you're not comfortable with that division, you can do the subtraction method. It's just as good, but it takes forever if you have really large fractions. So I definitely recommend using the division method, but you can use this as well. So remember, when adding or subtracting fractions, our denominators have to stay the same. I need to take out a whole, so if my denominator is 5, for this fraction to be a whole, my numerator also has to be 5. And then 17 minus 5 is 12. Denominator stays the same. That's still improper, so I have to take out another whole fraction. 12 minus 5 is 7. Denominator stays the same. That's still improper, so I have to take out another whole, and that will leave me with 2, and 5 is the denominator. Now I have to figure out how many wholes I took out. 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 whole that I took out, and I was left with 2/5 as my fraction. So you see, we get the same mixed number no matter which method we choose to use. But the division method is a lot quicker because you are also later going to have to convert fractions like 38/7. And if you sit there and subtract, you may have to subtract it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and you could be there for a while, or you may not have enough space. But if you choose to divide, it makes things much quicker. 7 goes into 38 5 times. 38 minus 35 is 3. So your numerator's 3, your denominator's 7, because your denominator doesn't change. So 5 3/7 is your converted fraction. So my advice is definitely to choose the division route. And yet again, this is another reminder of how beneficial it is to have your multiplication facts memorized. Otherwise, you could be here forever. So remember, when we convert mixed to improper, when we convert improper to mixed, we do the division, or we take out wholes. And when we convert mixed numbers to improper, we do our windmill method, which is multiplication is repeated addition. So 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 2 is 17. My denominator never changes. So 17/5 is my converted fraction.